Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first ones to die. We are here today. We hope you're having a great day. We hope you're loving life. We hope everything is good in the hood. Anyway, how are y'all doing today? I've
Doing
been
good.
going with these, I've been trying, the last few episodes, I've been trying to go for these, inspirational, motivational kind of things, but they always fall flat, and I'm always like, they should have stayed in drafts. But
You,
I
you know what?
try.
You're
I
you're
try to spread the
trying.
positivity.
You're trying, and that's the most important thing. You can always say you tried. May not have gone the way you thought it would, but you tried. And I've been good. It's felt like a weird week because it went by fast, but it's also been very busy for me. So it's just been weird time. How are you
Weird
guys
time.
doing?
I'm good. I worked out a couple days ago, so I'm still a little sore, but I feel good though. I feel strong. I guess it's gonna take a minute to be more consistent, but I'm willing to try. I feel like it's now's as good a time as any to get healthy. You know,
That's true.
Exactly. I feel like that could be said for this year and last year. Stay healthy.
What about you, Jonathan? How are you doing in sunny California?
I'm doing good. It's been hot, which I have liked very much. Yesterday, I went to a vegan, outdoor truck stop area. Not truck stop, but they had like a whole bunch of vegan food trucks. It was
Gross.
very good. Yes. Did you say
What?
gross?
A little bit. Just when we come down to visit, don't be taking me to vegan places. All right.
Only meat only,
Let's
okay?
yeah. Let's put a
here's here's the
stake in
thing.
that.
Whenever you say, Jonathan, how are you doing in sunny California? I expect Jonathan to be like, well, Alex, the weather is actually fantastic. Let me tell you. And then you just pull out a random chart, like behind that white wall you got back there with just weather on there and clouds.
Better
And you
watch
just
out. Next week, I might do that. Al Roker, I'm coming for you.
you just suddenly turn and slam and post like the sunny sky or cloudy. Be like, this is the weather now.
And now, let's take a look out your window. All right.
There's a YouTube channel I used to follow. They did a prank like that where they called it the weather elevator, where people would get on an elevator at this random building they chose that they like rented out, and they would just be in the elevator. Like one of them would be in the elevator like in a suit, and he's like, "How you doing?" So if you check today's forecast, and then he set up a little like weather chart on the elevator to just pull down, and people would be like, "Whoa, what is happening?" And they get like a nice like comedy bit on their way down to their floor. I'm sure there's some people that literally just missed their floor just to see how long you can keep it going.
Elevator pranks can be fun, although, in reference to our Vanishing at the Cecil Hotel episode, sometimes elevators cannot be so fun. So you
And
got to be wary.
I'm still willing to try the demon elevator
Hey, when you guys
thing.
come down to LA, I was thinking today, hey, maybe we could take a little tour
Listen, if
to the
you want to
Cecil
go get
Hotel.
shanked and go into the Cecil Hotel, that's on you. But
Why
I'm
am I
going to
getting
be fine
shanked?
because that's what happens at the Cecil Hotel. We already established this in the episode. If you want to know what we're talking about,
One
go on
person
over
got
to
shanked.
Spotify and download the Netflix Vanishing Cecil Hotel review. That's my plug for today, and that's how I'm doing it.
One nice tie-in too, and only one person got shanked.
And it's closed anyway, so we'd have to break in or something.
That's right. They
That
need
is
to
not a
they,
problem.
and that's okay, Alex, because they need to break their record. This time, you and Jonathan will both get shanked, and then they could say that we have a record of now two people getting shanked at the same time at the Cecil Hotel.
First of all, legal purposes, this is a joke. Uh, it'll be easy to break in. Secondly, why is Jonathan getting shanked? I don't feel like Jonathan would come
Because
in
you two are fool
because you
enough to
keep
go in
threatening
there
about.
knowing full well that this hotel is from Satan himself, and is definitely not for the man for the will of man.
Okay, full disclosure, I wouldn't actually go into it. I'd maybe take a picture outside of it, but I wouldn't go into it.
That devil hotel needs to be shut down.
I'll bring Tara then. I feel like Tara would go with me. She'd complain about the devil too, but she'd come with. So what are we talking about today, guys?
Yeah, we're not here to talk
Today,
about the Cecil Hotel, though. That's a different
Or
review. Today
demons
we're
or
here to
anything
talk
like that.
about
today we're talking about
Invincible.
Invincible. Yes.
Yeah.
It's the animated series that just dropped its final episode of season one on Amazon Prime Video. It is about an adult animated series based on the Skybound slash Image comic about a teenager whose father is the most powerful superhero on the planet. And it's based on the comic books by Robert Kirkman, who is famously the creator of the Walking Dead series. And as we will talk about in this episode, there are a lot of Walking Dead people who are in this show as well. So it shows, if you didn't know that he was the creator of The Walking Dead, then you probably got a clue based on how many Walking Dead cameos
Had
there are.
either of you heard of this comic before
Never.
watching the show?
Um, I've seen it at Comic Con, because me and my sister every year we would go and get The Walking Dead, and his other books are with there, but I never paid any attention to it ever. So, not really.
I only recently dived into the comic. I've only read a little bit of the first major arc, which most of this season kind of wraps up, but they include some other things that happen later. So I was not until I because I had heard about the show being made. Also, apparently, there's also the rights have also been bought to make a live action version of Invincible too. So I don't know how that's gonna work, competing with itself,
Yeah.
an animated show.
Is it going to be like the same production company and everything?
I don't know. I know it's going to be a movie. It's not going to be a show. But I just that's weird to me. But I remember I read the first bit, the first big arc of the book, and then I was then I think a week later the trailer for the show came out, and I was like, all right, now I have some context. I'm more excited for this. I'm ready. So
nice. Well, I'm ready to dive into our review of the show because I have some words about the show. Fair warning, they're mostly positive words, not negative. But how we do our reviews is we first, if this is your first time joining us, we first talk about our overall thoughts of the show or movie or whatever we're watching. And it's not spoilers in that first section. And then we'll give you a warning. We'll go into our spoiler section and deep dive every single aspect of the show. So first,
I think that our initial listeners who do listen to us week to week, they get tired of hearing us give this explanation.
If I don't get tired of people saying, hey, if you're new to our channel, like and subscribe, and go ahead and give us a 5-star review on iTunes. Just cut. Well, actually, I do get tired of that. So
Yeah, I
have
do,
a point.
because I had told them earlier, I was watching Watch Mojo, and right before they always do number one, they're like, hey, do you like this list? We have all these other lists. Go click. And I'm just like, tell me number one. I want to know what the most gruesome death you saw was. Come on. I'm watching this for a reason.
I've seen that list. I watched that one.
Yeah, that's what started my Saw marathon.
Did you get annoyed at the end before they gave you number one?
Hey,
a little bit, because I had to pee, and then it's just won't shut up. It's just
I don't get annoyed as much as it's just I just don't at this point I feel like it's par for the course. It's part of the experience. It's just at some point they're going to be like, comment, and subscribe, and don't be afraid to hit that notification bell. Speaking of which, for first ones to die and more
do that
we have here on YouTube, please don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. And also, if you follow us on all of our audio platforms, don't forget to follow us and download the episodes.
Oh, you boys. Okay. Go on.
All right, Alex.
Started. All right, I'll have you know, I would have liked some appreciation. That took a lot of work.
No appreciation for you.
Alex,
we don't do that here.
What did you think of the show?
I enjoyed it more than I thought I would, honestly. Because I'm getting tired of the whole superhero thing. I didn't also know Steven Yeun was in this, so when I heard his voice, I was like, oh, okay, I like it a little bit more even. it was just better than I had expected it to be. So I don't know if that's like because my bar was low and it was much higher that it's took me by surprise or what. Um, I really enjoyed the characters. I really like Steven Yeun's character, I'm sorry, Mark Grayson. Um, it's interesting the way they put the kid inheriting the superpower and like while someone he's like 17 it comes about. Um, it kind of reminded me of Sky High there for a little bit when he gets surprised by
Disney
his
Channel
dad.
original movie.
Yeah. No, was that a Disney Channel original?
I think so.
It wasn't a Disney Channel original, but it was a
It was
Disney movie.
Disney.
Yes.
It gave me that vibe at the beginning when he like figured out his powers, and then it was like, oh no, it's nothing like Sky High, but very vastly different. But I still enjoyed it.
Nice. How about you, Jerome?
Oh, this show was fantastic. I love it. I think it's first of all, it does the comic justice. I feel like, I like. Granted, I say I love it, but that comes with a little bit of a grain of salt because, and I'll explain it more in the spoilers. But there is something that happens in this show that in the book, I think they do a lot better, and it's handled quicker. And this show drags it out for so long that it felt a little slow to me in the middle of the show. That being said, though, overall, I think it's a fantastic show. I love all of the cast. I think Sandra Oh is fantastic as Mark's mom, as Debbie Grayson, J.K. Simmons, and Stephen Yeun as Omni Man and Invincible are fantastic. They kill it. Um, and really, just like I love the action in this show. I will say, for me, sometimes the animation isn't quite up to snuff. I think it's just because there's sometimes where they kind of take some shortcuts for some of the sequences, but for the most part, most of the action sequences are really cool. Sometimes when Mark is flying, I love the way they animate him, how he flies, because he's not, like his dad when he flies is like Superman, but when Mark flies, it feels more like Miles Morales from Spider Verse, where it's so free and he kind of does like flips and stuff, and like tucks himself into a ball to like get momentum. So I love like stuff like that. So with all the tiny details they really get right, and then like a lot of the respect they pay to the comic, which was mostly because Kirkman is a big part of the writing staff this time around in this show. So he gets to really put a lot of that stuff that maybe he didn't get to put in the comic, or stuff he wants to change from the comic in this. And it works. It really does work. So I enjoy this show. I'm glad to know that it has been, what's it called? It has
Renewed.
been it has been renewed for 2 seasons, for seasons 2 and 3.
Oh wow.
So
Okay.
I'm excited that we're gonna that's in the bag. So I know that this won't just be leave me hanging. Like, we're gonna get more Invincible. So I'm excited.
Yes. For me, I second both of your sentiments. I really liked watching this. Just like I feel like the experience of watching it was really good. Whereas I'm gonna compare this to like the Falcon and Winter Soldier, which I didn't have bad things to say about, but I was more neutral on that. And on this, I feel like I have such a positive looking back on watching it, I have such a positive. I had such a positive experience watching it. I'm excited now to watch the second and third seasons. Whereas, like maybe with Falcon and Winter Soldier, I don't know if I would necessarily do that. Maybe if we were like reviewing it on the podcast, but I don't know if I'd necessarily do that on my own. But with this, I liked all of the creative choices that they made that I haven't seen in other maybe superhero things. Like at the, I don't know if this is spoilers. I'll get into this later, but the music choices, the points where they decided not to use music, I noticed those as well, and how specific and particular they were. And speaking of the cast, like the fact that they had so many like A-listers and people who are just like on the map, and so many Walking Dead people, especially in that first episode. We were all watching it on Amazon, but you know how Amazon has the feature where if you click pause, it shows you who's in that scene.
Yeah.
I was constantly clicking pause because I'm
Yeah,
like,
me
okay,
too.
who is this? Yeah, because I wanted to know who each voice was. And by the way, Ross Marquand, uh, who who was in
Oh,
The
he's a
Walking Dead,
fantastic voice actor.
yeah, and he
incredible.
played so many characters too.
He's played
uh,
Red Skull in Endgame.
oh, really?
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, but he's good. We met him, remember, Alex?
We did. He was a very nice
Yes,
man.
he was very nice. And yeah, but overall, I had a positive experience. There was one thing with the plot that I was a little bit down on, and it might be the same thing that you're talking about, Jerome. And we'll get into that. But overall, I had a very positive experience watching this show.
Cool. Uh, so we all like it. That's a good thing.
Yes, yes.
So I guess with that, we're gonna get into spoilers. So if you're not, if like Jonathan said earlier, if you don't want to be spoiled, this is your warning now. We are going to spoil the show. We're going to talk about all 8 episodes in detail. Well, probably not all 8, but the stuff we remember from all 8, and that sort of thing. So if you don't want to be spoiled, click off this, watch Invincible, then come back and join us and listen to our thoughts. And maybe your thoughts will be the same as our thoughts. Who knows? I wanted to start off the spoiler section though because I wanted to ask you two, because I watched the first episode like when it came out, but I had the comic knowledge, so I knew what was coming. What was you guys' experience watching the first episode of this show from start to finish? Because that's where like the big surprise happens, and I love
Right at the very end of the first episode.
The first episode, because the first episode gets almost everybody who's never read the comic.
Yes. So basically, at the end of the first episode, Omni-Man, who is this big celebrated hero, he kills all the other Guardians of the. I was about to say Guardians of the Galaxy, Guardians of the Globe.
I mean, but go on.
And then throughout the show, it's basically a mystery. Why did he do this? And the audiences are the only ones who know that he did it for sure.
Well, yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I was like, I don't think I blinked. First of all, I don't think I blinked during that scene because I'm like, what the heck? And then after that, and this was my thing with the plot. It was kind of predictable in the sense that you weren't gonna know what his motive was until that last episode. So it's like, okay, we know that he killed all these people, but we don't know why, and we're not gonna find out why until the very last episode of the season. And in that last episode, at the beginning of the episode, he just explains to his son why he did it, and this is his backstory. And I thought that was kind of anticlimactic. I wish there would have been little kind of more clues throughout the season that would have given us hints as to why he did it, rather than just being like, okay, we're waiting to find out, basically.
What was your thoughts watching the first episode?
I kind of saw it coming a little bit because of the way he was interacting with his son. He seemed more upset when Mark got his powers. So it kind of gave off to this like, okay, why are you so upset that your son can be a superhero now when you're such a celebrated hero about it? It was less of a warm welcome. And that initial when they're training and he punches Mark really hard was also a thing like, okay, something's not right. I mean, I get you're worried about your son and how he is and everything like that, but at the same time, this is not how I feel like a sane person would start off their son's first training to be a superhero, by basically abusing them. It did still come a bit as a shock. I wasn't prepared for the surprising gruesomeness that was in this cartoon show. I wasn't ready for that. Like, I'm like, oh, okay. But then it's also created by what's his name?
Robert Kirkman.
Yeah, who's like the Walking Dead guy. So it's like, okay, I should have been a little more prepared for that. But yeah, it was like surprisingly surreal for it being a cartoon, and I will give credit for that. The way he's just kind of, the way he kind of also passes out after fighting them too is kind of like it was very interesting to see because at the beginning when you don't know any of his motives or anything like that, you're kind of wondering, well, like, all right, was he like brainwashed? Is his physical being like really weakened because they were using up all his powers to defeat them? Is he kind of passing out due to like, I know it was a lot of damage due to like the fighting between all of them, but it also this like relief where they actually the evil ones, and he's like kind of relaxed more now. He's like, oh, I can kind of calm down. So I will say it did leave me questioning, but I was with Jonathan where it was kind of like, okay, I know this is the question is gonna be like stretched out between these like 8 episodes, and now that's what's gonna try to hold us. But at the same time, it was like, all right, we know nothing's gonna come about it until the last one.
I asked about that first episode mostly because for a lot of people I watch on YouTube, like they would watch it and the beginning part would like desensitize them because they were like, "Oh, this is like a nice, cute, like
Sky High
superhero
vibes.
show. Yeah, like this is nice. Mark's learning how to use his powers. This is very sweet." And then the end happens. And they're like, "Oh my god, ah no!" Just all these people die, which is funny too because in the comic you don't see how they die. Like it happens, but you that all their deaths happen off screen, and then you like see the aftermath. You don't watch them like die. So this was, I guess, Robert Kirkman being like, "No, this time you get to see them get ripped apart by Omni Man." But I do agree with you, Jonathan, that was my one thing where it's like in the comic, majority of that first arc, Omni Man is a very cool dad. Like he's just a super dad, and he's teaching Mark, which Mark doesn't really need much training in the comic, and because he reads comics. I mean, he does in the show too, but in the comic book, he's like a super comic book nerd. Like he loves comics. So for him, he just mimics what he's read, and then just goes from there. And he does a great job. Like his dad gives him some pointers, but for the most part, he kind of trains himself.
I think
And
that would
then
be bad though. I mean, like to read comic books and try to model after that. That's how a lot of evil villains are created. They
well,
have a
Mark's
thought.
well. First of all, Mark has good parents, so he's well adjusted.
Good parents. He has a good parent.
Well,
That
that's in the show because, like I said, in the book, Mark's dad, like, he gives no signs that he's evil. Like, he's very supportive of Mark. He always encourages him. He's very good with Debbie. Like, even when he gets his powers, he's like, "Oh, that's great, son. That's fantastic. All right, cool. You're gonna start doing your superhero thing. That's really cool. Well, if you need some help, we can team up. But if not, you got it." Like, he's a good dad. And so then when you
Until he's
see him
not.
kill, when he kills the Guardians, it's like, yo, what's up with Omni Man? Like,
I
I thought he
mean,
was a good
like
dude.
with all due respect, he may be a murderer, but that doesn't make him a bad father. If the
But
abuse he just gave his son when he punched him super hard, that makes him a bad father.
in fact, that
So you
scene, like a lot of that is original. That's in the show exclusively. Like in the comic, he does not punch him like in the chest.
so you wanted a little bit more like of the shock factor, like surprise that he is capable of doing this.
I wanted it like I
Or
understand.
what I was saying like with the build up to the reveal of why.
It's more like because I understand why they made the choice they did. Because in a world where we have literally, like, just this year alone, we're gonna have, I think, 5 or 6 superhero shows. So you have to differentiate yourself in some way, shape, or form, past just that you're the animated superhero show, because there's tons of those on Disney XD right now. So what you need to do is like differentiate yourself, like what makes your animated superhero show different. And so they're like, well, we have the blood and gore, like, and the violence and the foul language. So that's what we're going to put that in
Right,
the first episode right now in front of you
right,
guys.
and that I get, but like at the same time, when Jonathan, I think you spoke a lot of truth when you said it was like kind of predictable at the end, and we knew what was going to come for the season ahead. I think it would have been better if it stuck closer to the comics, where you have this good person and you kind of show more of like who he is and the character and how well he's like, and then maybe like the fourth or third episode you get that horrible bloody scene, and then it's more of a surprise and more of a question. You're like, okay, but like they lead it up because he starts going a little. You don't get to see the good father factor from the comics. You just see like this guy's reacting weird. This guy just punched his son in the chest. This guy seems very reluctant even when getting his son the superhero costume. And all of a sudden it's bloody and you're like, God, that was bloody for one and gory, but like it wasn't too much a surprise that he turned out bad because like he was already suspicious. So I think it would have been a lot of a heavier hit if it had just stuck out for a couple episodes and not dragged the way it did. Because I mean his character during the whole season had like the most suspicious moments ever. And like, yeah, the blood and the gore is very different from a lot of superhero like shows because they don't like to show that, of course, because they're like, well, this is heroes, this is blah blah blah. We don't show blood and gore. So I will give them credit to that. And I did like the characters they brought in, like Alan the alien. He was
He was
Alan's
cool.
cool.
He
he
was
was
He's
just
cool.
great. He's great in
fun.
the comic, and like and now when I
Seth
read the comic,
Rogen.
I will read Seth.
Yeah.
I will hear Seth Rogen's voice in my head when I read Alan the Alien because he's the perfect voice for that character. Alan is totally like Seth Rogen as an alien. He's just a cool dude. He's a cool guy.
Yeah, no, he's just like
Just chilling.
just there for. I sometimes I felt like, are you supposed to be in this scene? Oh, okay, you are. All
To be
right.
fair, he does just like his
He
introduction
does show up.
in the comic is the exact same way. He literally just shows up one day, and Mark and Omni Man's like, "Hey, Mark, there's this alien up there. I need you to go punch him." And then he's just there, and then he's just not. He becomes important later, but for now, he's literally just shows up now, and then it's like, all right, well, whatever.
Yeah, he becomes like, the person Mark consults in and everything like that. But yeah, say the dad is just suspicious during the whole thing. And you're like, well, I mean, if you're gonna be a villain, you're a really crappy one. You should like
Try to hide
calm
it a
down.
little
Yeah, I'll
better.
try to hide
Yeah.
it a little bit. Stop being so suspicious.
Well, the thing
Yeah.
is that, and this is what I meant by like it drags it out, is that like I knew they were gonna do that for the finale, like you said, Jonathan. Like I immediately was like, oh, so let me guess, the finale is gonna be Mark versus Omni Man, because in the comic that's like the big moment. But the thing is that in the comic it doesn't feel that way because literally Omni Man kills the Guardians, and then like a few issues later, it's Mark versus Omni Man. It is not like, okay, now we're gonna get like 2 whole volumes of Invincible, and then we'll get to why Omni Man killed the Guardians, and that's what the show felt like. It's like, okay, yes, we're having all these singular adventures and all this stuff, but the plot of Invincible, the comic, and I guess the show, is what's going on with Omni Man and the Viltrumites. That's the plot of the book. Everything else is like extra stuff to like have fun with, which is great. I love the cast. I love all the characters they introduced throughout the show season. But because you always have that dangling thread of like, why did Omni Man kill the Guardians? It's kind of distracting, and it feels like you really don't have anything else going when nothing else really like measures up to that mystery throughout the entirety of the show. At least for me personally.
Refresh my memory. Does Noel die at the end or no? No, he flies off into space, right?
Yeah, he flies off into space.
So he's still alive.
Yeah. And so then it's like well, that scene at the very end with Alan and Mark, where he's like, the Vulturites are going to come back and they're going to try to defeat Earth and blah blah blah, and you're going to have to basically defend it, because Ultraman.
Where how Omni Man fits into.
Did I call him Ultraman?
But I won't spoil for you how Omni Man fits into that plot going forward.
Yeah, let us know.
There's a lot of twists and turns, so it's a fun time.
Well, let's we got some of the negative out the way. Let's get some of the positive out there. I am positive that I hated Amber as a character because I'm sorry,
I
I just need
love
to.
the hate for Amber. It's so funny to me when she
Am I
shows
not
back up.
alone?
No, you're not. Because when she shows back up in episode 8, I have not seen one person yet to be like, "Oh, great, Amber's." Everyone's like, "No, no, leave. You need to leave. The Mark, dump her
You
right
need to
now."
go.
And normally I'd be like, okay, yeah, okay, root for the black girl, but I'm
And
sorry,
it's
she
a
made no
shame.
sense to me at all. Like her reasonings for anything.
She's played by
Zazie
Zazie
Beetz.
Beetz, and I love that actress, but everybody hates Amber so much. It's so funny to me.
I don't. Yeah, I don't know entirely what she is. She that way in the comics?
In the comics, she has no character. She's literally a like character to just like, I guess, fool your expectations. Because when Adam Eve is introduced, everyone like, and her and Mark have a connection, but she's dating Rex at the time, and so everyone's like, "Up, Invincible and Adam Eve." And so Amber literally just shows up one day in the comic and is just like, "Hey, Mark, want to go out sometime?" And he's like, "Yeah." And that's all of to her character. This show has fleshed out Amber 10 times more than she ever was in the comic. In fact, she's not even black in the comic. In the comic, she's just another white girl. In fact, most of the race bent characters in this show are white. Rex is white. Um, I want to say there's another character who's like white. Like most of the characters are white, so they race bent a lot of characters for the show to be a lot more inclusive.
I did like that they kept very real to the high school relationship because I always see stuff and it seems so unnecessarily intense. She breaks up with him over a trust issues. Dude, you've been dating him for like 2 weeks. Of course she's not gonna tell you
It's been
much.
more than that because she said she knew he was invincible for 3 weeks, so it has to at least been like a month.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. You're right. A month. It was dating for a month. And how much time do
Cool.
you? No, how much time do you really spend with a person in like a month frame? Like
Listen,
dating and all that stuff. Like,
I
no, no,
had a
no,
friend in
no.
high school who also had a crap relationship that he thought was more important than the world.
Right. So it's the high school relationship, and then they're like, "Oh, you didn't trust me at anything." Look, I met you like a month ago. We just started dating. Like,
I
you need to
was
calm down.
I was mad at her at first because I'm like, okay, you live in a world with superheroes. Do you not realize this dude is a superhero? Like all the signs are pointing to him being a superhero. And then she was like, "Oh yeah, I realized you were a superhero. Now why did you lie to me?
Oh, see, yeah,
Go
she
home,
lied
please."
too. She lied too.
Exactly. And then she comes back to him because he almost died. No, get out of here. You don't just no, no, no,
I
no.
think they're trying to get more real estate out of Amber because the character is being played by a famous actor. So they
Yeah,
want
but
to
it
use
didn't
her as much as
work.
they can.
It
But
didn't work. They ended up just literally everybody hated her, and the fact that you're like she's literally dead-eyed in the comics, it just makes it worse. And she really does have no purpose. Like I could understand, like, all right, they try to make her this like different person in the show, but she's really just like a dead-eyed teenager that's like, look, if you don't want to be involved in this stuff, stop acting like this is the love of your life. Go to homeroom. Oh,
go to homeroom.
homework? Don't you all have homework? Like I get him why his grades might slip, but you, girl, you need to go back to class. You have no involvement in this. You have no reason to keep following him. Go to class.
Well, it's
For a
obvious.
sec, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. I was gonna say the issue with Amber really is that it's so obvious that she is literally just supposed to be his TV girlfriend for us, or what I call a seasonal girlfriend, just so they don't immediately hook him up with Adam Eve, because that's what's going to happen. Like everyone can tell that's what's going to happen. So it's just like, why are we spending all this time with Amber? Even the comic, they Amber like does not stay around for very long. She's not because she's
I
not important. She's just a character to be here until it's time for Invincible Adam Eve to get together.
I think it's stupid that they make him have a girlfriend then. Because like You have to deal with this crazy girl while your dad's betraying the world. An alien fleet is coming at you. You're still working on your powers, and now you got to watch over your mom because she's like, her husband killed a bunch of people, and her child's a new superhero.
And I say also, Mark is a bad son. Because I saw, like, granted, he didn't mean to catch her, but if I see my mom is like bawling her eyes out in the bedroom, she's had a traumatic experience after that, I would go hug my mom. I wouldn't just be like, nah, and just close the door. And just be like, I don't want to deal with that emotional baggage. Just gonna close this right now. It's like that's. I'm like,
you didn't even need to close the door too.
Go hug your mom. Go hug your mom.
Both of them were through a traumatic situation. It's like, then be together.
Exactly, they're in the same situation. Yeah, and that was that. First of all, I loved Sandra Oh in this. She did a great job.
Yeah, and she also is another character where she gave Debbie or the writers and her gave Debbie a lot more agency than she has in the comic. In the comic, she's very dead to the world because her husband's a superhero. So like every day is, oh, I got kidnapped by aliens. So she's like kind of shut that part of herself off because she's like, I can't care because every day is gonna be a stressful, anxiety-ridden day. I'm married to a superhero. These things happen. And in this show, I like that she's more active. Like she is still that person, but she also like still has a life. Like she has fun, she has a job, like she's a part of the world. You know?
I appreciated her storyline of being like, I feel left out now because my son has superpowers and I feel like I'm essentially the only normal one. So I don't feel connected to you two anymore. And it feels like they have the father and son have more of a connection. And I thought it was really interesting, her arc with, finding out that her husband has done these terrible things and going through that grieving process. And then ultimately coming to a point where she's like, whatever, I don't care if he dies, just go after him. All I care about is my son. And I think that was portrayed well.
Jonathan.
Yeah. So he can go.
I will also say, like, with her character, I can see why she would become so broken because she's also spent like years married to this man and like getting kidnapped, all this stuff, supporting him, and then it's like, dude, why am I getting kidnapped if you're gonna turn evil? Like, what was the purpose?
She doesn't get kidnapped. Like he gets like, same old superhero stuff,
Yeah, no, talking about the wife.
I know.
Debbie. No, she like supported him through everything, and then he turns evil, and it's like, well, I guess I married a villain instead of a superhero. Now my son's kind of a dick, so it's like, she's like, I got nobody now.
Yo,
my family sucks.
I watched this couple who's like a black couple watch this show, and
are they like a black couple or are they a black?
No, they are a black couple. Sorry, my bad. But they made me laugh.
I'm just kidding.
It's Married to the Real. If you haven't seen their channel, they're very funny, and they actually are two married people. But they watched this show, and that scene when Mark is like practicing flying, and his mom's like, "Go in the house," and he's like, "Make me." She was like, "Shoot, I'd still choke him out." He thinks I don't need super strength. Don't you talk back to me like that? I wanted so bad for
that mama super strength.
Yeah, I wanted Debbie to go full mom mode, and she's still choking him. He's like, "Mom, how you doing this? You ain't stronger than me."
There was that mom who like lifted the car off her baby, like when her baby was in trouble. So that mom's super strength.
I was like, I wanted Debbie to just get like some burst of super strength. It's like, what's wrong, Mom? Mama, I'm your son.
That reminds me of like this like video I watched where they're like, I don't know what it's about children. As soon as they're taller than their mother, they'll try shit. They'll test their boundary. They think all of a sudden because they got like literal height on them. And I felt like that in that scene. I was like, oh, even when you're flying, it's not that you're taller than your mama, you just got height. I was like, in that moment, you're like, why do you try your mama like that? Don't do that.
What do you guys think of the other characters? Because this is a very star-studded cast. They have so many people in this show.
They really do.
It is. I haven't seen Walton Goggins I know he's been in stuff. Actually, he was in a movie, an IMAX movie. but I can't remember what it was. But him as Cecil was really good. He played. I feel like he played him really good, just like that sinister, like that deadpan kind of voice. And on the flip side, Andrew Reynolds. I'm looking at the list now. Andrew Reynolds as William Clockwell. I recently saw Andrew Reynolds. This character I feel like was very in line with the stuff that he's done before. He's been on like Broadway and stuff, and I know he was in the movie Prom on Netflix. So his character being kind of like the best friend, the comedic goofball best friend, I thought that was really appropriate for him.
I enjoyed the various villains they have, and I had to do that thing with Amazon where I had to like, because I recognize the voices, but I was like, I don't know who these people are until I like flipped it up, and I was like, oh, it's like Azara Miller or like Jeffrey Dobbin.
Ezra Miller.
Ezra Miller. There we go. So I was a little surprised, but yeah, no, it was the insane amount of just like people they were able to get for this. Like Mark Hamill was in this too for a bit.
Yeah.
And John Hamm too. And John Hamm confused me for a second because I recognized his voice. He played like an agent guarding the White House, I believe. But like I recognized his voice so well because he has such a distinct voice. I was like, this feels like such a small part. What is going on? Why is he there?
I think that's my only complaint about how big, like the big names in this cast, because like I said, some of the animation, they take sometimes they take some shortcuts with some of this animation, like whether it be like especially with the flying. There are times where it's just a still image that's just moving up and down on the screen, and it's like, ooh, he's flying. It's like, no, he's not. It's just a still image that you're moving up and down. I can do that on After Effects, no problem. So it's just.
Are you talking about when they're standing up and they're flying, or when they're like horizontal?
Sometimes when they're horizontal and moving too, like both.
Yeah, I noticed that when they were standing up and flying, it was just like they were like a still image, and that was it.
And so it's like, in my head, I'm just like, okay, that's cool. You got John Hamm in here. Why is he playing a character who's literally not going to be important ever in this story? Like, that's money you allocated to get John Hamm when you could have gotten a just B voice actor to play a character who's not important, and use that money to then do the animation
one
budget.
episode. Yeah, no, some of these were like, why are they here? Like, it was more of a and it took me out sometimes because I recognized their voice. When I heard their voice, I'm thinking, who is that? Who is that? Who is that? And then I stopped paying attention to the show because I'm like, oh. And then I always go, because I hear the voice, I'm like, that's not really them. I go on like IMDb and just start looking up, their name and then everything they've ever been in. And then I get distracted again. And suddenly, I find every show, everything John Hamm has been on. And I've missed the entire scene of what was going on after him.
Can we talk about my favorite celebrity cameo of this program?
Which one?
Reginald VelJohnson as Principal Winslow.
Yeah, Principal Winslow.
For anybody listening,
that one made me laugh. I was like, that's funny.
For anybody listening who doesn't get that reference, Reginald VelJohnson is the school that they went to in the show, and Reginald VelJohnson played the dad, Carl. Was it Carl Winslow? Carl Winslow on Family Matters. And just having in the first episode when I saw Reginald VelJohnson High School, I'm like, what? And I appreciated when I heard his voice and he said Principal Winslow in like episode 5 or whatever. I was like, yes, you did this correctly.
Well, it's just, I'm looking at the cast, right? Like, for example, like this is the cast of The Guardians, right? Some of these people aren't big name people. Lenny James, been in Walking Dead. Warren Cohen, also
Walking
been
Dead.
in Walking Dead.
Sonequa Martin Green.
Sonequa Martin Green, also
Walking
famous
Dead.
actor. Mae Whitman plays the little girl who's like talking to the Martian dude in the beginning. These are all big name people. First of all, the Guardians exist to just die. So,
and those were all like Walking Dead people.
Right. Like, you do not need to hire them to be like these characters. Like, this is money that is not being, I feel like, well spent when animation should be the main thing. Like, that's the visual aspect of your show. If it was live action, I'd get it.
They were
But
all Walking
because
Dead
it's
people too.
animated,
Yeah.
yeah, which I think that was a choice. You wanted
Right.
his Walking Dead cast members.
That was a bit.
ripped
Look, I've
apart.
killed you all once before. I'm gonna do it again.
That's a good point because most of those people are dead on The Walking Dead.
Besides Lauren Cohen,
Yeah, she plays
she's
Mary.
the only one that's still alive.
But you know, I just felt like that. You know, I love the cast. I do. I think everyone does an amazing job. But there's just a lot of times where I was just like, all right, like I don't need this person to be in this show if the animation is not going to be like super top notch. Because that's really what drew me in was the animation, like not the cast. Like, yes, I love Stephen Yeun. I think he's a great actor. I think J.K. Simmons is fantastic. Love Sandra Oh. Like, I love a lot of these people. But at the end of the day, like, you know, you can have an amazing voice cast, but if your animation's trash, I'm not gonna keep watching this show. So, you know, that just feels like that would have been the more sensible trade-off to me. Personally.
I agree with you about the animation, and honestly, it just reminded me of those really cheap Saturday cartoons that were just brought over from like, you know, Japan, where the mouths didn't fit properly either. The voices. I was also watching Power Rangers yesterday. The voices being off drives me crazy. But yeah, it reminded me of that where like there were just a lot of like, okay, I know you definitely use this frame already. It's not even part of the actual like fight scene. You just needed crumbled buildings and you had an old picture and this is what you're recycling. I will say I agree with the whole animation thing where it just was like it could have been better, especially for the fact that they actually built it up a little more. You know, this whole thing was about kind of being a shock and awe with the blood and gore, which was a lot. Again, I'm surprised by the cartoon and the animation. Um, it just it didn't fit well. It looks kind of cheap for like a superhero thing, and even like the kids' cartoons with like Batman and Superman and all that. I feel like have more detailing, and this was definitely like a low form of animation.
Yeah, I noticed that with the mouths, how the mouths they would most likely be going like, for anyone who's listening, I'm just moving my mouth up and down. And that was
They weren't actually forming words. They were literally
right.
closing
Right, basically. And I had assumed, like watching it, I had assumed that it was kind of a choice, that they were going to make it like that to emulate kind of the animation style or the artistic style of the comic books or just comic books in general.
It doesn't. I mean, the character designs are definitely very like the comic. I think the one thing it gets of the comic style is that the comic is very angular. Like people's faces and structures are very like blocky.
Yeah, everybody had like perfect job structure in this.
So that it does mimic very well from the comic. But outside of that, though, it kind of is its own style. It's a bit more. It's not as loose as Invincible gets.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, I did like that the teen team and the new Guardians of the Globe. Again, like I only read like the first arc, so certain characters I don't know too much about. Like I don't know much about what happens to Monster Girl as she goes on in the comic, or what happens to Robot. The Rudy thing is like something that I found out that happens like way later down in the comic, but they're speeding it up to right now. Which I think maybe that's their way of getting rid of Zachary Quinto, who plays Robot.
So they didn't again need.
Yes, that's one big name they can just kind of just mark off the list.
Right. And they were and Ross Marquand replaced.
He was Spock in Star Trek.
No, of course I know that. I said, what has he done recently, though?
He's done a few things, but I can't think of them right now.
I think he's done some theater recently as well.
He might be just trying to get back into TV and stuff.
But yeah, I mean, but I yeah, I really do enjoy a lot of the relationships in this show, though. Not like relationships, but just how people interact with each other. I loved how Black Samson kind of took charge of the Guardians of the Globe. I like Mark's relationship with Adam Eve. I like that they're taking their time, I guess, to build up to them being together. Adam Eve's parents suck. Like, like
I
I
mean,
hated her parents so much,
They
so
didn't
much.
want her to reach her full potential.
And I feel like Rexplode is the John Walker of this show, like,
ah,
like entirely, because
nice reference.
he is a hero, but he also sucks royally for a good chunk of it anyway.
Yeah.
So I was thinking this towards the end of the season when I was watching that when Mark essentially had to choose between being a regular old human or being a Voltronite because he is half and half, um, that it kind of emulates what I've heard from people who come from different cultures who are biracial or multiracial, in that they essentially have to choose which side they belong to, or they're pressured by society to choose a side. And it's relevant because the character Mark is biracial as well.
Yeah, I like the
Um,
change to make his mom Asian. And
oh,
switch
was it?
his
Was
blood.
it?
His
Okay,
mom is supposed to kind of
I was about to
emulate being Asian.
I was about to say, because if you're saying that the comics weren't that diverse, I'm assuming it wasn't a thing in the comics.
No, in the
But in
comics,
the
he's just
show, that
white.
yeah, but in the shows, that was something that I was thinking of. It kind of emulates that duality of having to choose one or the other.
I agree. It was really cool. What did you guys think about the fight between Mark and as the finale?
I think I thought it could have been a little bit more. I think if they cut the animation for the rest of the episode, they could have the season. They could have used more of that animation money on the final fight. I did like seeing that it was in Chicago.
It was, but they killed like half the city. I was
They
about to
did.
say.
They absolutely did. They slaughtered a lot of people. They yeah.
This
No, it
show
was a
loves to
lot.
slaughter people because
It
that
really
second
does.
episode when the aliens come or the interdimensional beings come and they just wreck shop and just kill all these humans, these civilians. I'm like, how does a city have a population left? Like, people die in droves every day in this show.
I was about to that is probably the most carnage that I've ever seen
In a cartoon.
in something.
Well,
What?
I
Oh,
said
what'd you
in a
say?
cartoon for me.
Yeah, in a cartoon, definitely. Yeah.
Especially when Omni Man makes Mark into a human shield and he just is ramming through people.
On the train, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, oh my god. And he had one lady I was watching her watch. She was like, Mark, close your mouth, Mark. Close your mouth.
You know what?
I was just like, oh my god, I didn't think about
That
that.
same thought because I've seen people like ride motorcycles with just this and that, and I'm like, why wouldn't you get a full helmet? Like there's so many bugs on my bumper.
That's
I
true.
really hope you just keep your mouth closed. And that's what I thought about him. And like the trains in Chicago, they're not clean. They're not. So I just thought about all that debris and stuff getting in his mouth. Like even if you get
On
like
top of the blood and guts of the many
yeah,
people he was running into.
well, blood and guts. I mean, that's like inside. But if like you can get sick from from the subway or the train, or the yeah, like just getting the material of the seat in your mouth, gross me out more, but should tell you how unclean things can be. Um, I think it was yeah, I feel like it could have been a more animated fight since this was kind of like the last bit of it while they're waiting for the fleet. Hopefully they get more animation budget next season.
I hope they do. I think maybe this first season is maybe like a proof of concept, and then next season they're gonna like be way better with the animation because they're confirmed for 2 seasons, so it's like a sure thing
What like I didn't like that they made Omni Man cry as he was like leaving Earth. or he was
You see the
tearful.
one floating teardrop?
Yeah, like, dude, you used your son as a battering ram, and now there's like a hint of guilt in you. Like, the fuck? Like, you
To be
could have
fair,
just like thrown him off a building or something if you wanted to do some damage, or like, just give
to
him
be
one
fair,
good punch again.
that's from the comic. In the comic, that's one of the iconic pages. Is Omni Man
It's
flying away and he's got tears in his eyes because he's
still
regretful that
stupid.
he had to defeat, basically destroy his son.
Alex is
No,
like, I
it's
don't care if
still
it's from the
stupid.
comics. I don't care if it's
I
iconic.
think it's still stupid. Yeah. No, because it's like you literally did this all in motion. And instead of being like, all right, I got a kid and a wife, I'm going to fight with them. I'm going to be with them. You were like, nope, I'm still going to destroy everything. I'm still going to beat up my son because I have to. And now I'm going to go join the fleet. No, sir. You have made your decision. Either stick by it and be the awful person you want to be. Don't cry. Don't give me those tears. I think it's stupid. Now you have regret. Now you feel sad about what you've done. You've murdered thousands and thousands of people, but like you use your son as a battering ram. You've destroyed cities, and you're bringing an army fleet to destroy Earth. But now you're sad about it. No,
I have to say, I saw a picture on Twitter that somebody drew, and it was of Omni-Man and Homelander high-fiving because they are
A lot of
equally
people
trash.
have been
Actually,
calling this animated The Boys.
you pretty much. I'd say Omni-Man is like 10 times worse. But I also haven't seen all of season 2 of The Boys, so I don't know if I can.
That's true. Homelander 2 has a son. This is true.
That's right. That's right.
I haven't watched The Boys. I like watched the first 2 episodes. I didn't know he had a kid.
That comes up later.
No.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, a little spoiler for season 1. Sorry.
I'm trying to think. Is there anything else?
Well, I was gonna say the thing about the Omni Man and Mark thing is I think it for as long as it's drawn out, I think that did take a little bit of the impact of it from me compared to in the comics. Because in the comics, like I said, Mark is actually a pretty good superhero. Like he doesn't need much training, and he's actually pretty good at it. Like he does fail from time to time, but for the most part, like he's a fairly decent super. He does not get his butt kicked as much as he does in this show, because in this show he gets beaten by the robots. He gets beaten by like the robot hybrid dudes. He gets butt kicked by Battle Beast, who like busts his chest open with a mace. Like Mark gets beaten down a lot.
Oh, he's like Cole from Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, a little bit. And so when he fights Omni-Man, like I'm just like in the comic, there's like you know what? Maybe I don't know. Maybe Mark can do it. Like he's proven himself to be pretty effective. In this, I was like, there's no way, Mark. There's no way you're going to stop your dad.
Well,
Like you can't even beat half these people, and you telling me you're gonna fight Omni-Man, who's like stronger than all of them? There's no way. You're going to be destroyed.
Well, that was the whole. I think that was the whole purpose of making him weaker, so that now he has that motivation to become stronger. Because they told him like, "Hey, the fleet's coming. Like, we need to prepare for the alien invasion that's going to be here." So Mark has to now like work out, practice, and become the superhero. He was initially denied from the comics. So like that is definitely a season 2 like looking into where he's like probably training, getting better, going through these weird obstacle courses because for some reason superheroes have time to build them. So I think that's what we're coming to see for the next season. Um, Hopefully he's a better son to his mom, who now has to deal with her.
He needs to be there for his mom. She ain't got nobody else. All right. She's all
like literally.
I feel like they can relate more now going through this traumatic experience.
And I think it's a little funny that Mark plans to still finish high school. Like, dude, no, go get your GED. You have bigger fish to fry right now.
No, if he can get the diploma, get the diploma. He lives in a world of superheroes. It's not like Spider-Man, where he's pretty much the only one who's actually doing anything worth a damn in this city as far as fighting crime. Like there are other superheroes. He has time to go to high school and fight crime.
Well, like what? He's 17. Like he should be finishing high school in
And
like
he's
a
almost
year.
done, right? He's almost done. He's probably got 1 year
Then
left, if that.
graduate early, like a half a
Graduate.
semester or something. Like your dad's coming back with an alien invasion, and you're like worried about your calculus test. It's one of those things I never understood about superheroes. Like I totally understand you wanting to have a separate life and blah blah blah, but at the same time, you have a literal thing that's facing over the whole entire world, and you have committed yourself to helping defeat them. But you're like, wait, I have to go do this really important exam. Like, no, no, thousands of people are gonna die. Ask the teacher for a retake.
To be fair, Alex, whether he does anything or not, in this world, thousands of people always die. So it's not, what's it matter?
Population control.
I'm just saying, like Omni-Man had nothing to do with those interdimensional creatures coming in and killing a whole small army worth of people. Like, that was just Tuesday.
No, but
So-
Omni-Man was
No,
like the reason
what am I gonna do?
for like thousands of people dying in Chicago, and now he's coming with the fleet. And then you just have like Alan the alien hanging around for no goddamn reason. And like he's like Mark has such useless characters around him. I like Alan, don't get me wrong, but he is like a sounding board for Mark as like a confidant. And then you have Amber, who's like dead-eyed. It's like, Mark, you need to make better choices about who you surround yourself with.
To be fair, he's got Adam Eve, and she's amazing.
That's
I mean,
the
she's
one-
got atomic powers. She's definitely like the one
That's
who
true.
can help
I
them
don't
know.
most. Like,
she's
Adam
the
Eve-
one person who's a positive influence in or actually helping him propel forward.
Yeah, I would say Debbie is too. You know, his mom's a great mom.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
but he
yeah.
doesn't-
As opposed to
Yeah, yeah.
as in regards to his peers,
Yeah.
Adam Eve, yeah, and then his mom is definitely a positive.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, Guardian. I love that the Guardians of the Globe at the end of this are like, "We're gonna wash this blood off." I'm like, you still suck. Like, literally, this
You
is
were no help.
the one mission you've actually accomplished and succeeded at. It has involved you fighting no supervillains, like saving people from buildings. Any superhero can do that. The one time you had to like help Mark fight a whole room of supervillains, you all failed. In fact, two of you nearly died. Like,
Yeah, they were not good. They did have definitely Guardians of the Galaxy vibe. Whereas like we keep fucking up until something works in our favor, and then we like are really proud of it. Like it was all planned out in the end. No, dude, you are just bad.
well,
You're
they
bad.
all
And
suck.
also Guardians of is this whole comic really just like a parody on all the other comics where like if all the superheroes admit it, they're actually have like major depression issues in it. Because this is what the
So-
vibe I get sometimes.
So the comic, what makes the like, and that's why I wasn't sure how this is going to translate well into a show, is because the comic of Invincible sold really well because it was a comic book for comic readers, in the sense that there are tons of parody, and not so much like jokes at the expense of other superhero comics or anything like that, but more just like, hey, that's like the Justice League, you know, stuff that just makes you go like, oh, that's like this. Isn't that kind of fun? Or whatever. That's why the Guardians of the Globe are basically a 1-for-1 of the Justice League. Of like, you got the Flash, you got the Aqua character, you got the Martian guy, like you got Batman. Like all it's supposed to be a 1-for-1 as like a nod to people who read comic books, which is why in the comics you don't know anything about them. You don't know their lives, you don't know who these people are, what their names are. It doesn't matter because literally they're introduced and then the next page they die. so as a show, it's weird to me that they kind of are like taking this kind of seriously, because initially a lot of things in the comic are kind of done as parody, except for the stuff that is in relation to Mark specifically, like the Viltrumites and Alan the alien. That stuff is like the stuff that's like, okay, that's the story. This other stuff is kind of just extra dressing to be like, hey, you read comics. Remember that one comic? Here's a character that's kind of like that. It's like, oh, neat. but
I
it's not,
just
you know.
it just made me think like, oh, it's like every superhero, but they just admit they have like parental issues and depression. That's what it felt like. Like you guys really have like a praise kink going on that you're not willing to admit. So now you just go around doing this, keep messing up until something works out.
Not the kink.
Oh, like no, I'm not shaming anybody. If that's your deal, that's your deal. But like, come on, superheroes probably have a little bit of that. Like they're the fact that they're doing all this, and none of them are ever just good at heart either. So like these
Well, I mean,
characters just felt like that. Like you let your emotional issues out. I can see that, and I
let me
respect
ask
that.
let me ask you this, because I wanted to run some hypotheticals through you before we end it. Just some hypotheticals from this show, and I want you guys' reactions from it. So let's say you have a significant other that you love very much, and then you find out that they are cheating on you with not one but three clones of a person. What do you do? Jonathan, you go first. I'm curious.
They're getting dumped. Is that a question? What am I
That's it?
supposed to say? Join in?
I mean, I thought you were gonna like fight him or something.
Does the person who's does the person who's clone know that they're sleeping with their clones? Is
Well, in the
the
case of like,
original
in the case of duplicates situation in this, because she's, Rex cheats on Adam and Eve with duplicate, all three of them. Um, she does. They do feel with each other feels, so they know, they are very aware
Oh, okay.
that they are
Okay.
cheating.
Okay.
Okay, so she's aware. Then yeah, I'm gonna take a pitchfork to him. I just need to know if I gotta fight her too, not because I want them back, but because you were involved and you knew I'm gonna fight you too. But like, yeah, I wouldn't stay in that relationship.
What would you do, Jerome?
What would I do? Oh man. Well, first of all, if I have powers, I'm gonna like destroy everybody. That's the day I become a supervillain. Like immediately.
Oh,
Your origin
now
story.
look at that, heartbroken, and you go and destroy a city. That came back.
The arc of this argument has been hilarious. It's carried over now for like 4 episodes.
Because you refuse to admit I am right, and then you
You're
keep
not
going.
right. All
I
right.
am absolutely right, and there you go, becoming a
This
super.
is different. Okay, my girlfriend isn't
No,
dead.
you're right.
All right,
She got
they
dead. She
cheated
just
on me.
cheated.
They deserve to die.
Which means she just cheated. You shouldn't be that heartbroken. There's other fish in the sea. She was a floozy. Get rid of her.
But okay.
Okay, what's the other hypothetical?
Next hypothetical. If you have a superpower where you can become a super powerful monster, you transform into a super powerful monster, but it cuts your life force in half, would you still continue to be a superhero?
Yes.
No.
It slowly takes away from your age, so you slowly age down as you use it.
What do you mean
No.
age down younger, or like you just
Yes.
lose years?
Like Monster
You
Girl.
become younger, just like Monster Girl.
Oh. Probably still, yeah.
I don't think I would. I'd be like, I could get enough of this. I probably know somebody who's a superhero, so I'm like, I could live vicariously through you. So I'm like, at
But
this
Jonathan,
point, I'm
what if
good.
something's happening and you have the power to stop it? Some bad stuff's going down.
Have you ever seen that movie, The Covenant?
The Covenant.
Ironically, it has Sebastian Stan in it. But every time it's about these like 4 boys. Every time they use their powers, it actually slowly kills them and ages them dramatically. And I kind of thought about that a little bit when I saw Monster Girl. I was like, oh, you're using it until your life is kind of being absorbed through the power. And it just depends on how much they use it and the maximum strength of like what they're doing with their power. So I think kind of like that, where I would definitely still have it, even if it's like kind of de-aging me. Because you'll age up again, won't you?
I don't think so. I think Monster Girl's pretty much stuck that way.
She's just stuck. Well then, no,
It's
it's
a
still
curse.
good.
It's not a power. Like Not
No, of
necessarily
course. I don't want to get younger. I
Would
just
you,
got to
Jerome?
30.
I would use it sparingly. Like as soon as I figure that out, because in the comics, Monster Girl doesn't figure out that it's aging her until like it's like she's an adult for a while. She doesn't realize it until like basically her boobs are gone, and she's like, "Oh, I'm getting like I thought at first I thought it was just a thing. Maybe I was just freaking out in the mirror. No, this I'm becoming younger." And then she starts to kind of realize that it's the curse of the powers. So for me, I would use it sparingly, like, but I think I would have to like find a way to like find out because I don't know if I would initially
Did you
notice.
become a toddler then?
Probably at some point.
Because she
You never
says
know.
at one point, so unless to robot, because he wants them to have daily trainings or whatever, and she's like, I'm not going to do this unless you want to be changing my diapers.
Gross. Yeah. Any other hypothetical?
This is the last one. Last
Okay.
hypothetical. This is the one for all the marbles. If you were a superhero and then you find out that your super dad is like a total supervillain and you are the only one who can stop him, would you try?
I'd kill him.
Or would you join?
Yes, I wouldn't join him. I would first try to reason with him and be like, look, okay, this is not good. You can't be doing this. And then if that don't work, gotta put the smack down.
Put the hands on him, Jonathan.
There you go. Nah, I'd
Alex?
just kill him. I'd kill him.
Okay, but he's also a superhero.
I'd
It's not
fight
gonna
him
be
then.
easy.
I'd fight him and then attempt to kill him.
You'd kill your father? That's a very dramatic.
For legal reasons. Yes. This is a joke, but yes, I would. I mean, if he's a villain, he's a villain.
What about you, Jerome?
I would definitely fight him. If I'm a hero and he's a villain, like, I gotta
Would
stop
you
him.
would you try
Like,
to
I'm the
reason
only
with him
one.
like Jonathan?
Um,
Try to
probably
bargain.
just convince my dad, but at the same time, I'd eventually just be like, all right, if reason's not working, I'm not gonna waste the breath. Let's get it on.
Would
Let's-
Okay, really quick though, at the end, sometimes you have to have the decision of like, well, if I don't kill him, he's gonna kill me, in those superhero moments with those villains who do try to do that. Would you go that far as a hero to protect the city, or would you do everything you pretty much can to just kind of capture him?
It depends on if I have to. Like, if there is a way to capture him and like keep him at bay, then I'll do that. But if there is no such thing, like a Superman scenario where it's like he's Superman, so no prison can hold him. It's like I gotta kill you, like, because there's no way to stop you. At the like, I can only deter you for so long until like either I die or there's nobody left. So it's like I gotta do what I gotta do, unfortunately. So yeah. Good thing we didn't put this out on Father's Day because that would have been.
Look, I have been open about the complicated relationship I have with my father on this podcast and with everybody. In fact, there is a dark horse in volunteer out there who knows exactly what my daddy issues are. All right, so like it's not that big of a surprise. I'd go one way, and I think at a certain point, ironically though, this kind of reminds me of Jonathan. You and me were in that when we were in the interview for the Science Center. It was a whole, if somebody's taking too much time for lunch or this or that, would you tell the supervisor or would you talk to them? And I was the only one that was like, fuck it, I'm going to tell the supervisor. Everybody else was like, oh yeah, you try to reason. I'm like, look, they have a history. I'm not playing games. I need my breaks. Get them straight.
That's
And
fair.
I think it's just the same thing. Like, look, there's a history and a pattern. Like, even if I try to reason with you, thousands and thousands of people are dead. And you're also a super villain, so like if I know my extent of the powers and your extent of your powers, is there much going to be holding you back? And when you break out, are we just going to be in this like thing? And yeah, it's just easier to kill him.
Yeah. Well, on that note, should we get to our final thoughts and ratings?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about the things that matter because it's like we could talk about each character in the cast, but to be quite honest, that's gonna take
There's
forever.
a
And
bajillion of
it's
them.
like there's too many. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got our initial thoughts.
Yeah.
Jerome, what is your rating and final thoughts?
For me, as much as I loved this show, I give it a B minus. I think it is a great show. It's a great start. I'm excited to see where it goes from here as far as the new seasons. It has inspired me to like want to dive deeper into the comics, which the comics do have a definitive ending too. So I'm curious what they're if the show is gonna live by that, or if they're gonna be like Walking Dead and be like, we're busting 12 seasons out, baby, and it's like you don't have 12 seasons worth of story though. but nonetheless, we'll see where it goes. But for the most part, for the season we have gotten so far, I think the voice cast does an amazing job. I love everybody in the cast. Also, I want to make sure I give a shout out to Mahershala Ali, who plays Titan. He's also
Yeah.
in the show. He's fantastic. It's just one of those things though, where even though they have a dynamite cast, the visual aspect of the show I think still needs a little bit more polish. It's almost there, like it's pretty good in a lot of areas, but there's times where that animation could be better. It could have a little bit more detail. Some of the characters' movements could be a lot smoother, less janky. And the 3D animation that's blended in, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And when it doesn't, it really doesn't. So I think, overall, I think if they can maybe start weeding out maybe some of that A-list talent they're getting to play these characters that don't matter, or just like D-list characters, and really focus up and give us some more depth with Mark and Omni-Man's story and what's going on with the Grayson family. Also, as much as I love Zazie Beetz, get rid of that character because she's a useless character. She's literally just
Get rid of her now.
like a character who's not even really supposed to be around. And that plot I felt like was the weakest of them all, especially because I didn't even understand why Mark had to have a secret identity. Like, you have a dad whose wife knows exactly knew who he was from day one. So I don't understand why he didn't think his girlfriend could do the same.
And like when he's
So
in the hospital and stuff, like what are his classmates thinking? Like where's he supposed to be at?
I don't know.
That's a good point.
Well, maybe Cecil. Cecil seems like a guy who can like get things done. So maybe he like sent in like some doctor's notes or something.
But still, that's like
It's a coincidence that he's also in the hospital while Invincible.
it's that whole joke. You never see Clark Kent and Superman in the same room, do you?
But yeah. So overall, I did like the show, but I think there is still room for improvement, and I'm excited to see them do that in the next season for the show. But I'll definitely keep watching. It has my attention, so I am going to keep investing in Invincible.
Nice. How about you, Alex?
I give this show a C, just because you're right. It does have like a potential, and I think I hopefully it's gonna get better in the seasons to come. The animation, I just can't get over that. It's just so poorly done in scenes that, especially when using the superhero powers, it's like, okay, I know this isn't entirely the main focus of the show, but it's like something people who are fans of superheroes are definitely going to notice. Um, I think again with the A-list actors, it pulled me out sometimes of the show because I'm like, what the hell is Mark Hamill doing as a tailor? Why is he there? That was so unnecessary. He's in there for one scene and one scene only, and so like,
well, he's in a couple scenes near the end too.
Oh, really?
I'm just saying, like I want people to jump down your throat to be like, Mark Hamill's in more than just one scene.
Oh, great. Okay, I apologize. He's in 3 scenes. And like, just every time there was a major actor, I was just like, is that them? Why are they here for just this scene? I like the concept. I think it would have been better if it stuck closer to the comic that Jerome was telling us about, where you saw more of the dad being the good guy. That way you were more surprised when he did this brutal and awful thing about, murdering slaughtering the guardians of the globe. um they kind of right away made his character kind of suspicious, and have this intensity to him that you're like, okay, I'm not that surprised he turned out villainous. The more shocking part was the blood and the gore of it. So I think the show really does have potential. I agree that they need to weed out some of the A-list characters, focus on the main cast, and just again do something with the animation that makes it less Saturday morning cartoon and more something that's like, this is really cool. I've not seen this with the cartoons or this study of a cartoon before, so like a C for me.
For me, I think I might give this an A minus. The minus is mainly due to the plot stuff that we talked about. I thought it was pretty predictable how he was going to Omni-Man was going to reveal the reason why he killed the Guardians, and I thought we were going to. Well, I would have liked something a little bit more suspenseful, something a little bit more climactic, where maybe he didn't just flat out reveal it. Maybe it was exposed in some sort of way, which it kind of was, but he just basically laid out all of his reasoning. I really liked that I was rooting for, and kind of like, he had flaws, but overall I was rooting for Mark. I was really rooting for Debbie. I thought I could really empathize with her character and her story, and the fact that she was going through it all. Like she had a tough time throughout this whole season. And I really hated Omni-Man and his whole scheme of things, not as a character, but just like as just his whole foundation of being. Yes.
I thought foundation of being.
Right. I thought he was a good character because you rooted against him hard. Like I said earlier, I like the aspect of the whole like duality of belonging. Essentially, like, do I belong to this group or do I belong to that group? And I think for the animation, I definitely did notice that, but maybe I wasn't like as down on it. Maybe because of the violence. If it would have been more realistic, then I don't know. I don't know if I would have enjoyed
Funny
that.
enough, when the animation was best is when it was violent, and it's like when it was like the other stuff is when they would like take it shortcuts. So it is weird that it's like they're like, all right, you want to make sure the blood looks good, like the blood and guts. That's what you want to look amazing. It's just like Mortal Kombat. Again, they wanted to make sure that the blood and guts look good, but then everything else is like, all right, well, you should have put that much time and effort into this too.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, that was the only good part. And then I was like, well, you clearly you made the effort with that. Make the effort with everything else.
Yeah. But those are pretty much my thoughts. So
I mean, hey, J.K. Simmons, though, man.
He did a really good job.
He did.
At first, Jerome, I cannot hear you.
Oh, I'm just talking low. But J.K. Simmons, he knows how to play intense characters. Like ever since Whiplash, Whiplash was the first movie where I was like, man, J.K. Simmons needs to chill. Like for what's his deal? And ever since then, he's played in all these roles where he's just this intense.
At first, it was like the very first part of the first episode. I was like, because I didn't know who Omni-Man was. I was like, this voice sounds familiar, but then I clicked on it. It's like, oh, J.K. Simmons. I'm like, oh, I don't know if I necessarily can connect him to that voice. Maybe it's because he looks so different than the character of Omni-Man, and everyone else kind of looks similar to their character. Like Steven Yeun looks kind of like Mark.
It's pretty much just
yeah,
right.
Remember, even down to the hair, like she's sassy.
And so, but everyone else looked kind of the same. So I couldn't kind of like connect him in the voice. But not long after that, I was like, okay, yeah, I believe him as Omni.
For me, it was when he was meeting Mark and he's like, I could just make another kid. what's another 17 years? I was like, that's J.K. Simmons. Like that is totally.
Yeah,
he's into it now. He's playing this.
And I mean, he's not wrong. 17 years. I mean,
parents always say, I brought you into this world, I can take you out of it. And Omni-Man's like, I can really take him out of it. It just starts beating the hell out of Mark. It was brutal.
I think I told my mom one time to take me out. I was like, yeah, you brought me in. And she's like, no, I brought you into this world. I did all this work. I'm not taking you out. I'm like, oh, come on.
Well, anyway.
Funny enough, Amber's hair, the whole time I was looking at it, I was like, I feel like that's a hairstyle Jasmine would wear. Like,
who?
Our Jasmine?
Our Jasmine, yeah.
Oh, our friend Jasmine? I don't know if I can see that.
Yeah, honestly,
if Jasmine had like more hair, I mean, she already has long hair, but if she had like more hair, I could see her doing it.
I don't know. I've always just kind of seen her with the straight hair, I guess.
The long flowy.
Yeah, with the long flowiness.
I've always seen her with the hair in the bun like she does.
Jasmine, if you're listening to this, it's weird we're talking. Jasmine, if you're listening to this, let us know if you would duplicate Amber's hairstyle in Invincible.
There, yeah, let us know.
Hey, folks, let us know what you thought about Invincible. Now that we've get to the end of the review, comment on our Instagram page, Facebook, all on First Ones Die. All of our social media is First One to Die, if you want to know. But comment, let us know what you thought about Invincible. Did you love it? Did you hate it? What things did you like, not like? Who's your favorite character? All that good stuff. And comment, of course, on the YouTube video, too, if you're watching this on YouTube.
Yes, absolutely. And you can follow us at The First Ones to Die everywhere. We're on YouTube, we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook. We're everywhere your heart can imagine. And where can we find you two lovely people at, Alex?
You can find me at Alex and Nobody on Instagram. I also run the TikTok account, First Ones to Die, of course, where I put little bits of our show up to let you see what we're doing. And I also have my own TikTok, Alex and Cheddar, where I just do random shit with my cat. Because that's my life right now.
They're pretty entertaining.
Thank you.
Very entertaining. I've been enjoying them.
Thank you. He's a very good actor. He takes direction very well. What about you, Jerome? Where can we find you?
You can find me at Not Jerome Rhett on Instagram and also at Robozoom Media to see any other creative projects I've been working on and stuff I've been cooking up. Also, for those who are just watching this on YouTube, there is an audio version as well to all of the stuff we do there at First Ones to Die as far as our podcast. So, if you want to check that out, it's not majorly different, but, there's a few things you might like or dislike. There's definitely some pluses to listening to the audio version. So you can find that Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcast, all the places where you can find podcasts. At least the popular ones. I don't know, but like the niche ones, we didn't really bother with those.
What about you, Jonathan?
Yes, there's a plane flying over me right now, but hopefully you can't hear that. You can find me at Jonathan Keys, Twitter, Instagram, wherever you please. I think that's going to be my new catchphrase.
Whatever
find
makes
me
you
at
happy.
There we go. Thank you. Happiness is key. And next week, we are going to be talking about our favorite movie mothers in celebration of Mother's Day, which is on May 9th.
Debbie's not a movie mother, but she does make the list if we don't mention her in that episode. I'm saying it now. Debbie makes the list.
I'd say she was a really good mom.
She does, yeah. We'll bring her back up.
Yes. Well, until then, we'll see you next time. Take care. And we are the first ones to die.
Bye.
Peace.